A strong statement on terror, but a big statement on Balochistan, on Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. And I want to quickly bring in our guests on the show for an analysis on the Prime Minister's speech. Aditi Fadnis, a senior journalist. Sanjay Singh, a senior journalist, joined me on the broadcast. Also with me is Congress's Madhu Gaud Yashki and BJP's Aman Sinha. Aditi, your take on the Prime Minister's reference to Balochistan and to Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. The significance, is he sending a message just to Pakistan, but also to Pakistan and China?
Well, I think it's more to Pakistan than China, and I think the message is that while people in Peshawar are lamenting the children that they have lost, it is people of Balochistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir that are hailing our Prime Minister, the Indian Prime Minister, rather than their own Prime Minister. So in a sense, he's telling Nawaz Sharif, basically challenging the sovereignty of the Prime Minister of Pakistan from his own territory and saying that they prefer me to you.
Okay, and why would the Prime Minister of India, Sanjay, refer to Balochistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir on his Independence Day speech? This is perhaps happening for the first time ever.
Yeah, Gaurav, this makes the difference. PM saying this thing from ramparts of Red Fort. He said same thing in all-party meeting, which was held 2 days back out there. And this was a curiosity which was there in mind of every Indian citizen, whether he is going to talk same from the Red Fort, and he did talk about it, and this is very significant. You talk about Kashmir, Pakistan talks about Kashmir, you create unrest in Kashmir, we will talk about PoK, Gilgit and Balochistan. That's a very, very strong message. Earlier the public discourse and discourse in international arena was on Kashmir. PM Modi tries to sift that, and the message is very clear when he says that हम टालना नहीं टकराव जानते हैं, and there he is sending that message that he is in a mode to confront and confront very strongly, diplomatically, military or maybe otherwise.
Okay, Madhu Gaud Yashki, is this not a big departure from the foreign policy that was pursued by the Dr. Manmohan Singh government, from Sharm el-Sheikh reference to Balochistan to the ramparts of the Red Fort reference to Balochistan? Madhu Gaud Yashki.
So far I understood, Gaurav, it's more of a confused strategy dealing with Pakistan by the Modi Sarkar since they came into power. His speech is more of like a politician rather than a statesman. So far he never divulged to the government what the talks they engaged with Pakistan by NSG outside India. What was the talks between Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif and Narendra Modi ji, be it in France, be it in US and elsewhere? What was the talks went on? His consistent, confused stand is creating a problem dealing with Pakistan, rather than when deal with Pakistan, consistently former Prime Minister, whether it is Congress or BJP government, took in one stand, took India into confidence, but is not.
Okay, explain this. Aman Sinha, the Prime Minister from the sari shawl diplomacy, the Prime Minister from that impromptu unannounced visit to Lahore, to this reference to Balochistan from the ramparts of the Red Fort. The Congress says it's a confused foreign policy.
Gaurav, first of all, my greetings on Independence Day to you and all the panelists and all the fellow countrymen. And it was a visionary, remarkable speech by Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. It gave a comprehensive blueprint of not only the achievements of this government, but laid out a roadmap for what this government intends to do in future. Now, as far as foreign policy issues are concerned, obviously they are, constantly evolving issues. They are dynamic, and whatever has been the response of Pakistan in past few months, our foreign policy imperatives, they ought to respond to it, and it was an appropriate response. And obviously, as Sanjay ji was also stating, the focus of the global community has to be on the human rights violations and oppression which is being carried out in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, in Balochistan, and this is what the discourse ought to be. So I believe that is absolutely a very correct and a courageous approach, which
Aditi,
which has been shown by the
confused
Prime Minister.
or courageous?
And apart from that, Gaurav,
Okay, let's take it step by step. Let's take it step by step. I want to restrict this conversation for the moment to
Gaurav, may I just
Balochistan
complete?
and Pakistan occupied Kashmir. We'll take other aspects separately, but Aditi, courageous or confused Pakistan policy?
Well, it's certainly very different. I don't know if it's confused. I don't think it doesn't seem confused to me, and certainly very courageous, but very different. The last time we virtually in Sharm el Sheikh, we virtually said yes, we are involved in Balochistan and we accept it.
Okay, explain this, Madhu Gaud Yashki, that big departure from what happened at Sharm el Sheikh. India got Sharm el Sheikh when Balochistan reference was made by then Prime Minister Manmohan Singh to the very aggressive, very courageous, as Aditi puts it, stance of Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
I'm failed to understand how Aditi, a senior journalist, missing the point here. The same Prime Minister, before becoming Prime Minister, his speech was, "मैं लाल आंख दिखाऊंगा, चप्पन छाती, बंदूक बरसते हैं तो बातचीत नहीं होगी." There were over 1,000 ceasefire violations. Over 900 civilians to military personnel have been killed. What was the approach since he took over the Prime Minister? Mere talk doesn't help. His attempts to isolate Pakistan has failed. And that's where I said, sometimes you engage in talks, some you talk about tough talk. You're the one called off talks and you initiate talks. Shawl and sari policy didn't work. Cutting cake did not work. You've seen the Peshawar attack and you've seen the Pathankot attack immediately after his visit to Lahore. So this is where we said it confused. I didn't say, just made a statement confused. It's a consistently seen is confused policy.
We will talk about this in greater detail. The Prime Minister's speech, we're discussing the reference to Balochistan, to Pakistan occupied Kashmir. And just before the break, Congress's Madhu Gaud Yashki was saying the Prime Minister is pursuing a very confused Pakistan policy. One day there's sari shawl diplomacy, one day he lands in Lahore and meets Pakistan's Prime Minister, and the other day you talk about what's happening in Balochistan and Pakistan occupied Kashmir. And Aman Sinha, here is there lack of consistency in the government's Pakistan policy? Does it have a Pakistan policy? Because former External Affairs Minister Salman Khurshid has also said this is politics, there is no statesmanship.
No, our Pakistan policy is very clear. Whatever is in our best national interest, we'll always pursue that, and we keep doing that every moment, every day. The confusion lies in the heads of Congress spokespersons. I cannot do much about it because Congress was the party where India emerged as a weak state all over the world. Globally, this was the image of India. Today, India is a global superpower acknowledged by one and all. So I am not going to dwell into what Prime Minister Manmohan Singh at that time did in Sharm el Sheikh. I don't even want to repeat that shameful statement. So therefore, we do not need any lectures in foreign policy and Pakistan policy as far as Congress party is concerned. But let me say, Gaurav, that we are seeing what is happening, the desperation which is there, reflecting in these terror attacks. Please do not interrupt. You did not even have the decency of greeting anybody on Independence Day. You did not even have the decency of acknowledging Prime Minister's remarkable speech on Independence Day. And now you do not even have decency to allow me to speak.
Okay, Madhu Gaud Yashki, coming back to the issue of Balochistan. You see the way then Prime Minister Manmohan Singh had a reference to Balochistan at Sharm el Sheikh, where Pakistan was attacking India for saying that we are spreading terror in Balochistan. Look at the way Prime Minister Narendra Modi deals with the issue of Balochistan. Should Dr. Manmohan Singh have been far more aggressive on Balochistan?
Listen, the mere aggression talks mean nothing. The same Prime Minister, as a campaigning as a Prime Minister candidate, what was the language he used? जब जवानों के सिर काट रहे हैं तो बिरयानी खिला रहे थे. जब जवान मर रहे थे, ये प्राइम मिनिस्टर क्या कर रहा था? केक काट रहा था लाहौर जाके. शादी की ग्रीटिंग दे रहे थे. क्या हुआ?
No, he is again repeating the same thing. You
ISI
asked a very
agents to come
pertinent
with a
question
letter of
that
regulatory.
this government is this
So
government
is
has taken a proactive stand as far as these human
Manmohan
rights
Singh's
violations and
attempt
operation in several
as a
parts of
Prime
Pakistan and
Minister,
Pakistan
Manmohan
occupied
Singh after
Kashmir is concerned.
26
But Congress spokesperson has nothing to say on
made
that.
Pakistan isolated across the globe. Mr. Sinha, when you talk about decency, you
Yes,
should
what
have
Prime
a
Minister
decency. Don't
Manmohan Singh
lecture
said
now.
in Sharm el-Sheikh
When you
is
accuse
known
others,
to everybody.
When you accuse others, you should.
And you have
Well,
nothing
No,
to
but let me
respond
get
on that.
Aditi to respond to
Listen
this.
to it.
Let
Have a
me get
Oh,
Aditi to respond
when
to
I
this.
was speaking,
was
you were
Manmohan
giving a
Singh's
running
was
commentary all
then
through,
Prime Minister
and you
Manmohan
keep
Singh's
giving me lectures on
Balochistan
decency.
reference at Sharm el-Sheikh,
We
was
made
that
for
a
the first
disaster?
time
Is
US
this a marked
president
departure?
with
How
the
do you
India,
analyze the two? Madhu Gaudiashki, let's listen into Aditi Fadnis, let's listen into Sanjay also. Let me bring in everyone into that conversation. You know, Aditi, then Prime Minister's reference to Balochistan and today's reference to Balochistan.
Well, today's reference is in a very different context. That reference was in a very different context. We must give credit where it is due. The previous Prime Minister did evolve some kind of a back channel conversation with Pakistan's rulers. There was a formula which was evolved during the last Prime Minister's tenure. But I think he was very timorous because it was not a majority government. Our Prime Minister, this Prime Minister has said that it makes a difference to have a majority in the Lok Sabha. It gives you confidence, it gives you strength. So
no, but even if you don't have majority on we should have a unified, one bipartisan Pakistan policy, Sanjay. That's a given. But then reference to Balochistan, where Pakistan was attacking India about spreading terror in Balochistan, and this Prime Minister's reference, where he's hitting out at Pakistan, not just for Balochistan, but also Pakistan occupied Kashmir, saying the people there are thanking him.
Yeah, precisely. Those two different circumstances, Gaurav. Then it was taken to be a virtual disaster on part of Indian Prime Minister and diplomacy and so on. Today he is very aggressive. What Mr. Madhu Gaudiashki was saying, in fact, I also to a very long period used to think that this is a very confused Pakistan policy. But now since he is saying that about Balochistan, about Gilgit and about PoK, it looks like he was following a pattern. I don't know whether I am correct or not. Going to Lahore to Nawaz Sharif's home, inviting him here, meeting him outside at multilateral forums, talking one-on-one there, and trying to give a friendly posture. And if nothing of that turned out to be positive, he is now taking an aggressive posture, saying that he did his best, he failed, and therefore now he has to do what he has to do.